Welcome back, nerds, to another episode of Judging Nerd Culture. I'm Ollie.
And I'm Jess.
And today we're doing something a little special.
Yeah.
Today we're pitting two great works of vampiric drama against one another to see which truly is the most problematic.
It should be fun.
It should be a great deal of joy. So, who's in this? What's going on?
Praise the sun.
Yes!
Namaste. There's too many references happening. We are going to be putting the classical works of the Twilight series against the more modern gothic tales of Vampire Diaries. Should we get straight into it? Should we give a little bit of what each is about? I feel like people at this point know what Twilight is about.
Sure, but we can still talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So, basic rundown of what Twilight is. Real shitty person sends her daughter to her dad's house.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on, my teenage daughter. I want to go travel with your new dad in his baseball team, I guess, and get laid. Get out of here, my child. Go live with the dad that you hardly know and don't really like.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of bad parenting.
It's especially bad.
Like, I understand you want her to, bond with her dad. So, having visits is good. But you don't just throw her onto her father after years and years of no communication. Anyway, we're not talking about childcare.
we do not have the time to break down in such detail both of these, unfortunately.
Yes. That can be one of the one of the ratings. How's the childcare in Vampire Diaries and how's the childcare in Twilight? Poor in both.
Bella,
I'm getting ahead of ourselves. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Bella gets sent off to stay with her father because her mother...
Her mother?
Yes, her mother.
Mother? When can I go?
Because her mother wants some good baseball dick. So, she's off to Oregon? Washington?
Forks, Washington.
There we go.
When the movie was actually filmed in Canada.
Ah. Anyway, she's in the middle of fucking nowhere. And she goes to a little high school where she meets the palest, pastiest motherfucker to ever not like her.
Mm-hmm. He throws up in his mouth the minute he sees her. It's great.
It's wonderful.
A true love story.
And she immediately recognizes how little he gives a fuck about her.
Anyway, we're going too slow. A vampire and a teenage girl fall in love, and eventually she becomes a vampire, and they get hunted, and they're not supposed to mingle with humans, and there's werewolves in a love triangle.
Yes.
Very basic teen drama, love, angst, vampire.
Yeah, there's potential suicide.
Yes.
There's weird sexual tension.
Yes.
And also something with a CGI baby.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, if you haven't read or watched or even just come across Twilight in your daily life, I don't know what to do for you. It's just vampire love story between a teenagers. Well, he's a vampire. He's a 1,000-year-old vampire, 89-year-old vampire. I have no idea how old he is.
He's from the tuberculosis age.
Oh yeah, because he was dying of tuberculosis.
Yeah, whatever age that is. I don't know.
So they were like, make him old, but not too old.
Just 70 or something.
And Vampire Diaries is basically the same thing. Vampires meet a girl that they fall in love with, and she dates both of them, even though they're brothers, which is messed up. Come on. You might have feelings for both of them, but that's messed up. Mm-hmm. Control yourself.
Yes.
Also, with the brothers, they needed to control themselves, too. We will also get into that.
We'll get into it for sure.
In Vampire Diaries, there's also witches and werewolves, and is there anything else I'm forgetting? Any other creatures, or...?
Well, not until after. Vampire Diaries ends and then the spin-offs begin.
Yes, but we're not talking about the spin-offs.
Yes,
we are talking only about Vampire Diaries.
Fine. There are some other creatures, but they're very rare. They don't come up very often.
Yes.
And yeah, it is essentially for the first chunk just TV show version of Twilight. However, it does eventually take some more twists into the teenagers try to survive every day of their lives.
Yeah, with a new nuisance trying to kill them, sort of thing.
It starts Twilight and then pivots Teen Wolf.
I love Teen Wolf. It's so bad and so good. Anyway.
Whatever the least problematic of these two is, maybe we should compare it to Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf. I freaking love Teen Wolf, and I know it is problematic as well.
It's a teen
I don't care.
drama. Of course it is.
I love Lydia and Styles, but I also... Was it Lydia and the deputy? I also really kind of liked.
Oh, Hellhound.
And I don't even care that he was a deputy because they're fake teenagers and she's actually like 34, so it didn't matter. And he looked like a child. He looked like a 15-year-old deputy. So that's how I excuse myself.
Hey, we're not here to talk about your trash taste and...
I do have really bad taste in men.
I don't.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If I were to date a woman, or anyone who didn't identify as man, it probably would also be a garbage person. They would also just be similar to you, probably.
Oh, that's very sweet. No, they wouldn't.
It's very sweet. I called you garbage.
I know. I'm aware. I know who I am.
I was madly in love with Kristen Stewart, and a while ago, I was looking through photos. I think it was after we watched Black Widow, and I wanted to learn more about Florence Pugh, and I was like, Allie, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Or my love for Kristen Stewart will be in competition with Florence, because hot dog. That's all I gotta say. How are we going to pick apart these? What is going to be our way of deciding which is more toxic?
Good question, and I think I have an idea of how to break this down.
Okay.
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Perfect.
I have created pros and cons on both sides, and created a list of things to identify whether it is positive or negative. And then we will compare and decide which is truly the worst.
You're showing it to the camera, but it's not on camera.
Whoops. Which one is
also,
the worst?
They cannot see. It is too dark and far away.
It's fine.
So if you're actually... Here we go. Here's a slapdash, scribbly, scrabbly looking thing that probably looks backwards.
Don't make fun of my handwriting. And it's fine. They'll see it here in actual written text because I can do that. So, let's go down first on the list.
Yes.
Family.
Ollie, we're talking about Twilight and Vampire Diaries, not Fast and the Furious here.
Yet.
Yes. Somehow we will compare Twilight to Fast and the Furious. Stay tuned.
So, Twilight is representation of family. Mm-hmm. It's complicated because on one hand, Bella's dad, possibly one of the best parents.
Possibly one of the hottest parents.
But genuinely, he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. His daughter's been held from him for years.
Yes.
Shows up and he's like, well, I'm a dad to a teenage daughter. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
He's gonna help.
That's
whatever
fair.
I can.
If I was a middle-aged man and suddenly I had a teenage girl living with me, I'd be like, what do I do?
And what he does makes sense. It's like, all right, well, you're basically an adult. Go figure your shit out. If you need me, I'm here. But he keeps trying. So
yeah.
I'm saying good.
I think in the movie, he takes her to her room and he's like, oh, it's exactly how you left it or whatever. Like trying to be sweet, like trying to converse. And Bella, the awful person she is like, oh, yeah. Since when I was like 12. And it's like, your dad's trying here.
Yeah, it's not.
And you're just blowing him off. Like, I understand you're upset and you're a teenager. But, like, he's trying. He hasn't seen you in, like, 7 years.
Yeah. Like, I think the thing is that she grew up with her mom. And her mom clearly sucks.
Yeah. Her mom clearly isn't her mom. She's clearly just a roommate. Just a friend.
Yes.
Which is not the same as parenting your children.
So, right now I'm leaning towards a pro for the Twilight. But we do have to consider some of the negative family aspects of Twilight. The Cullens do all fuck each other.
They're not related.
Well...
See, I know it can get iffy, especially when, like, your stepbro, wait, what are you doing?
Wrong website, baby.
I know. But if you, buy our Patreon,
if we reach a billion, no, honestly,
a billion?
1,000 subscribers and you'll see my whole ass. Whatever you want.
Whoa. What's happening? Are we okay?
It's a late night recording, we're fine.
Anyway, I can see where it gets iffy when your adopted or step sibling has grown up with you. Like, if you're 5 years old and your parents all adopt a 5-year-old or someone in that age range, and then you grow up together and you're just very much brother and sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister, whatever it may be. I
believe that's called siblings.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You just grow up with that, like, familiarity. It's kind of yucky when, you start boning, Mm-hmm. However, when it comes to the Cullen family, they're vampires, so those rules don't matter, I guess. Right. Also, when Mr. Cullen, when he... Dr. Cullen, I'm sorry. when he turns each of them, they're all teenagers. Why does he only pick teenagers? Anyway, sorry. That was a thought that popped into my head. Anyway, they don't know each other as brother and sister. They're turned into a vampire, and then suddenly they're always just hanging out with this other person who's a vampire and their age. So they're just gonna bone. But to, like, blend in with everybody, they say that they're adopted. Mm-hmm. So, like, on one hand, they could have said something else, like, I don't know, they're not related, they could have done that.
Could have done just about anything wrong.
But there's a lot of early mid-2000s teen books that do this, that play with incest a little, and it's really weird.
I can think of one in particular.
I can think of one in particular as well, and it's really weird.
Alright, so let's go for family for Twilight.
Yes.
Now.
Because they are still, everything we said sounds like a con. But the Cullen family really does stick together. They're very loyal.
Yeah, family is still family.
They keep strong, and the Jacobs family, they're also very tight-knit. I mean, they live on a reservation. That's what I was thinking. And so they're also a very tight-knit community. After a while, Bella and her dad do become very close. She still lies to him because, her boyfriend's a vampire. That's kind of hard to tell your father that. Even though he's been in this town his whole life. He knows weird things are going on. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I would consider it a pro, because it is all trying to be very positive.
Yeah. I think, honestly, family is probably the most positive thing in this movie, is the depiction of that bond, despite, Bella's mother being just kind of shit.
Yeah. One bad apple.
Now.
Oh, well, Charlie does let Bella just run off to Italy suddenly. And also get married at, 18. And he does... Well, I guess he doesn't let her. She just kind of does it.
Anyways.
Not bad.
Vampire Diary.
Yes.
Family. You know, we don't have to really get into it, but it's definitely a con.
Yeah, there's not really family in this.
Oh, there's a lot of family, but none of it's good.
Yeah, like, the families I can think of, well, the two main characters, their parents are dead. So, bad parents already.
How dare they die?
But, and then the other adults in their lives don't really try to take care of them. They just kind of let them wander and do what they please. And then Matt's mom, it just left. Just left him there. And so now he is in high school and also working at the bar to keep his house. And that poor boy, I love him. You know, then there's the other family I can think of is Klaus's family. They hate each other. So, like, nothing when it comes to family is positive. Not really.
The primary relationship in the entire show, the brothers, literally is about them hating each other and trying to fuck the same girl.
Yeah. And, like, they have some bonding moments and some, like, heartfelt moments. And then, what the fork even is her name? I'm forgetting everything. It's 8 o'clock at night, which I know isn't late, but it's late for me because I am old. Elena.
Nope.
With a C. Kalena. Elena. Whenever she comes into the picture, they immediately hate each other.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, come on, bros, get control of your wieners and your brains. She's not that great. She's an awful human being. It
really is one of the worst brother relationships in all of TV that I've seen.
Yeah.
And that includes Supernatural.
Yeah.
At least they, from time to time, like each other. At least they haven't... No, they have tried to kill each other. Never mind. I'm going to go with con. And that's not even counting the fact that...
At least they fight over something that is reasonable most of the time.
Yeah, not just some girl.
Not just some girl who sucks.
There was that one time they went to...
Okay, we're not talking about Supernatural.
Yet.
I'm the one who's supposed to be blabbering on, not you.
Right,
You're supposed to be keeping us focused.
All right. So let's refocus again. And just one last thing to really cement the fact that family in Vampire Diaries is just very, very bad. Like, one of the core relationships, it's a very short period of time, is Bonnie and her grandma.
Yes.
And that is a loving relationship, but very bad.
Yeah.
Bonnie does nothing but take advantage of her grandma.
Yeah, and then she cries about it, but, like, she knows what she's doing. Like, the first time, it wasn't really her fault, and she felt awful about it, really torn apart by it, and it was kind of sad. But then she does it again.
She kills her grandma like 3 times.
And she does it again, and it's,
She kills her once, I think she brings her back once, she kills her again, and she kills her ghost.
Yeah. It's very strange. I also hate Bonnie. I don't like, there's so many people in Vampire Diaries I do not like.
The healthiest relationship with a parent is Caroline and her mother, and her father, who they have a weird gay parable with.
Yeah. It's like... Yeah, you can fight this vampirism. You can get it out of you if you have a strong enough will, you know? And it very closely resembles her being gay, and like, even though she only dates men in the show. Yeah. And it's like, do they mean to do this on purpose?
It has to have been a purpose. I
feel like it wasn't.
Her whole vampirism thing was like a weird gay...
I really wish they would have just made her gay.
Yeah. But even that, like, the fucking dad straight up tries to conversion therapy her.
Yeah.
And then... later on comes back, it's like, I was wrong. And then is somehow still better of a parent and a family relationship than all of the other characters.
Yeah.
He sent her to a conversion camp and he was better than...
Honestly, yeah. Tyler's mom isn't the worst. Yeah. She does love him, but she is also a politician.
Exactly.
So, that's a con for Vampire Diaries.
The big one, too. So, relationship.
Yes.
I'm going back to Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to vote for con in general because none of the relationships I think are healthy. They are all kind of possessive, a little codependent, a little
codependent. Yeah, I can see that.
Like I said, with pretty obsessive, pretty codependent. Also, very secretive. Like not just from the people around them, but from each other.
Yeah.
Like there's this sense of like, well, I can't tell her how I really feel about anything. And that's coming from her and him and Jacob and everyone else. Like,
yeah.
no one wants to communicate.
I think the healthiest relationships are probably like Charlie and Jacob's grandpa. Like, they have a very good, friendly relationship. Also, I think Rosalie and Emmett probably have a good relationship because they bonded over very awful things in her life, and it just seems like they are pretty wholesome and good. Jasper and Alice is a very kind one, but Jasper, I realize he's a new addition to the family, even though, you know, he's from the Civil War. He was not that long ago.
He was a Confederate soldier.
Yeah, it's not that long ago. So, like, he should have learned by now, but I feel like he really depends on Alice to keep him under control. So, like, that codependency there isn't great.
Yeah, I feel like their relationship is mostly her keeping him in line and him messing stuff up every once in a while and her having to clean it up.
Yeah, which is not great.
No.
Also, her hair. Wow.
So, yeah. There's a few good relationships, and they're the more established ones, and, you know, a friendship essentially. But for the majority of the time, it's a weird dynamic with almost all the characters who actually are romantically driving the story forward.
Yeah, when it comes to Bella, Jacob, and Edward, it's not great because she is immediately fascinated and obsessed with him. It doesn't take very long for her to want to know everything about him. Like, he throws up in his mouth once and she's like, I gotta know who he is. He's the love of my life all of a sudden. And he is very standoffish, very cold, very, you know, closed off from her. After a while, Henry, don't look at me like that, son. After a while, their relationship gets better, and then he disappears without telling her anything. He just ghosts her after, like, I don't know, a year probably of dating. And so she goes into this very unhealthy depression, which shows me that she had a very bad obsession with him. Like, she was, like, not just in love with him, but, like, obsessed with him. So much that when he's not in her life or not there with her, she doesn't know how to exist, basically. And then Jacob completely hates Edward because he's super jealous. Like, he's kind of obsessed with Bella. Even, like, he's fantasized and put her on this pedestal since he was a kid. And when she comes back, he's like, oh yeah, my old childhood friend, we can get back together. And then when she's not immediately, like, into him, he's upset. And it's very weird. He's a nice guy, you know? Yeah,
also the fact that during Bella's depression, like, she's so far into it that nothing can really get her out, except when Jacob comes around. So what gets her out of her horrible depression is another boy's attention.
Yeah.
Who just is basically a placeholder until Edward can come back and really make her happy again.
Also, the suicide attempts that she does. Like, I guess not strictly suicidal. It does start to lean towards that. But that adrenaline rush that she gets when she's with him. So, like, she's using him. Yeah.
So, yeah, relationships,
cons.
Super
not
con.
even, you know, the main ones are healthy and good.
Yeah. Vampire Diaries. Now, I know your instinct is straight con, but allow me to make...
There are a few that are pros and a few that are cons.
Yes. So, like, the core relationship, and by core, I mean Stefan and Damon.
Yes.
They are the core relationship, in my opinion. Not good. Also codependent, also very jealous-based, and a lot of back and forth. But all the other relationships, when they're not connected to those two, are surprisingly okay.
Yes.
When Caroline is with Stefan, or when she's with Damon, even though that was a weird thing, but when they become friends, like, they're genuinely okay relationships that are, like, just kind of fun back and forth. Even Stefan and Elena, surprisingly healthy relationship in which they're just kind of, like, enamored with each other. But it's not like, but when he takes off,
He's
she's
a
like,
little possessive.
He's a little possessive, yes.
He's a little possessive and
but
weird.
like, when he takes off, she doesn't immediately go into a horrible depression that no one can wake her out of.
Yeah.
She's just kind of like, oh, I'm sad, like a normal fucking person.
Yeah. Yes.
When she's with Damon, she doesn't just immediately forget, oh, I don't care about Stefan. Like, she actually has, I don't know, questionable thoughts about these two characters and has thoughts about their feelings.
Yes.
Whereas Bella just did not care.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't care if it hurts Jacob or hurts anybody else, as long as she gets that satisfaction or that happiness. She reaches that goal. But even though I cannot stand Elena, weirdly enough, she does take into account Stefan's feelings when she starts having feelings for Damon. Like, she worries about that. Like, if we do this, Damon, what are we going to do about Stefan and that sort of thing. And which is refreshing, and it is good. It's nice. I mean, you shouldn't be dating your ex-boyfriend's brother, but, it is what it is. It's weird, but rules are meant to be broken, I guess.
Yeah. Either way, what I'm saying is, I think for Vampire Diaries, I'm voting for pro because it shows that people have, these awful desires, but they can still be okay people about it. Yeah.
So, pro, buy a hair.
Barely.
Buy a hair.
All right. Friendship, because they both have, I think this is important to have in here because there are a variety of relationships that Bella is shown to almost have, but never come up again. Yes. Like, if it's not Edward or Jacob, it doesn't exist to her.
Yeah.
She tries to go out with her friends a couple times and disappears.
Yeah. She's in I just had a stroke. She's in a relationship where in real life you would consider it unhealthy because, if I saw one of my friends dating someone and then they just never came around anymore, I would be worried. Like, oh, hey, where are you? Like, can we hang out? No, why? Your boyfriend? Well, that sucks. Like, and I understand it wasn't Edward who was telling her, hey, don't hang out with your friends today. But in a way, it kind of was, because he was the reason, like, she wanted to spend more time with him than anyone else. And I kind of get that, because when we first started dating, I wanted to be with you most weekends. I didn't really, hang out with my friends back home very much, because I was excited. Puppy love, that new love sort of thing. So but after a while, that fades away. And you're like, okay, well, I love this person I'm with, my partner, but I also want to see my friends and be independent and have my own life. But Bella just wants Edward. She doesn't want her own life. She doesn't want her own friends. She has Edward and his family, and that's all that matters. Who cares if Jacob isn't in her life anymore? She likes her dad, but it's okay if she doesn't talk to him very much. Jessica, I think is her name, Jessica and Mike and everybody else from school doesn't care about because, Edward's here. And it's like, this is strange. These are red flags, Bella.
Yeah, that's a definite con. So Vampire Diaries, friendship. Surprisingly, I think it has really good depictions of friendship, even though most of those characters do eventually kill each other, at least for a moment.
Yeah, or just not like each other. For the most part, they seem pretty loyal. Yeah. And, like, even when they're mad at each other, they don't want anything bad to happen to the other one. Mm-hmm. Like, there are events in Vampire Diaries where,
Alaric?
No. What's her name? The witch. You
Bonnie?
Just said it. Yes, Bonnie. I want to say Becca. Where Bonnie is really mad at Caroline, but she still goes out of her way to help her because they are still friends. She's just mad at her at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool because in Twilight, like I said, Bella could not care at all if Jacob lived or even existed as long as Edward was in her life. But the people in Vampire Diaries are like, okay, I'm mad at you, but I'm going to understand that I still don't want you to die, which is more realistic.
Yeah, the weirdest friendship is probably Alaric and Damon, in which...
Yes.
Yeah, great friendship, great on-screen chemistry.
Romance. It should have been a romance. It should have been a romance.
But, like, that's probably the weirdest friendship in that... I think at least 4 times they switch to, well, Damon's gone out of control, I guess I have to kill him now. But he never does.
Yeah.
He always tries to. He's like, I can't, you're my best friend.
Yeah. And, like, honestly, I really did, my goodness, I really did enjoy the back and forth banter between the two. And I understand why they didn't make them a couple. But they should have, because I just feel like Damon would have been so happy. And would have, like, Damon does become a better character, and one of the characters that I care about more than others. So, like, being with Alaric would have just made him happy. Even though Alaric doesn't seem the type. He seems a very, I love you, bro, but no homo kind of guy, you know what I mean?
He's an older guy, yeah.
He's an old-fashioned guy, you know? So,
right.
even though, you know, Damon is, like, hundreds of years old.
Yeah. Also in the Civil War, but unlike his shit brother, was an objective.
Yeah,
or
Stefan
whatever.
is just awful, trash garbage.
It's so bad.
Like, Damon is toxic masculinity, you know, pushing his feelings down, needs therapy, brooding, dark vampire boy. But Stefan
is bad.
He's just trash garbage.
He's just a bad dude.
He's just a bad person.
Point is, friendship, I'm going to give it a pro for Vampire Diaries,
yes.
surprisingly.
Yes.
Sexism.
Mm-hmm. Sexism and sexuality? Sexism, do you want to explain what you mean by this for when it comes to Twilight and Vampire Diaries?
Yes. By this, I was trying to bring up the fact that in Twilight, every female relationship is kind of focused on their relationship with some other guy. And
well, I mean, it's only ever about Bella.
Yeah, but even then, the other characters that are present and are female in some way, shape, or form are all about, like, my whole character arc is that this man saved my life or is a part of me now, is blah, 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 blah. Like, it's all about their connection with some other guy.
Yeah.
And, like, that's kind of fucked up. No woman has their own independent agency. The one with the most agency is future girl.
Alice?
Yeah.
She still has to take care of Jasper. God dang it. She still has to take care of Jasper, which, I mean, he's not controlling her, but, like, kind of is.
Yeah, like, it's...
Because it's like dating a man that you have to babysit.
Yeah, she's babysitting her husband.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucking weird. So, like, the woman with the most independence is still bound to this person. It's
I don't know.
Strange.
Who do you think has the most independence? Alice or Bella's mom? Bella's mom, who just up and left her child with her baseball boyfriend. I don't even think he's like major league or anything.
Nope.
He just liked baseball. Oh, man.
So that's why I put that in there, because I thought it was too much of like a clear thing that kept happening to not point it out.
I suppose so. Really, the only depictions of women that they really give are Bella, who is, you know, dependent and obsessive and just a bunch of red flags and like a bunch of baggage that she needs to work on.
She's a walking red flag.
She needs to go to therapy. It's fine. Some people just need to
figure their
grow.
shit out.
And then there's, you know, Esme, but you don't really learn much about her in the movies. She's just Edward's mom. She's just there. There's Alice, but she's just kind of flighty, very like, you know, that pixie dream girl vampire sort of thing. So she doesn't really have original character energy. And then there's Rosalie, who, you know, her sad story is, you know, left at the altar, you know, assaulted, this sort of thing. All of the women are pretty much just like victims or stereotypes. And it is, like, I didn't think about it until you brought it up, but it is pretty annoying.
Alright, so sexism, I'm gonna give it a con.
I suppose so. However, is it worse than Vampire Diaries? Because Vampire Diaries is also pretty bad because the women don't really get, the spotlight or like a good storyline unless it's Elena.
That's the thing, because like most of the characters in Vampire Diaries, like on one hand, I think it does have more women who are more independent. Like Caroline's very much I like my boyfriends, I like to do this, but I'm also an independent fucking woman. I'm gonna go fuck shit up. Mm-hmm. Bonnie, even though I don't really like her, is also for the most part
pretty
usually
independent. Yeah.
Elena less so, but more than Bella at least.
Yeah.
And there's a few other characters that come in throughout the seasons. But the thing is, there's more direct sexism from the male characters onto the women than Twilight.
Yeah.
With like the fact that most of the story comes down to the brothers fighting each other over who gets to win the girl, who gets to be the better man and whatever else. And that's pretty fucking gross.
It is, but it does... There are points in Twilight where Bella takes more control of herself and she is more independent and has that power, but it's mainly after she becomes a vampire.
After she becomes more like him?
Yeah. And in Vampire Diaries, it does, I think, do a little bit better job of showing that a woman doesn't have to depend on a dude or her vampire boyfriend. So, like, she can make her own decisions because a lot of times Elena is like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to go do the thing that I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then they have to go save her. But, it's fine. It's fine. At least they tried, Yeah. They tried a little bit harder.
Yeah. I guess that's another pro for them. This is not going the way I expected it to.
Yeah, but honestly, before we started recording, we honestly thought Twilight could win, but now
it's not looking great.
It's not looking great for Stephenie Meyer's characters.
So I put down lore.
Yes.
Because with Twilight, there's the fact that they bring in a lot of Native American stuff and really fuck it up pretty badly.
Yeah, that's where they talk about the werewolves, and they also have like Volturi, which is the vampire government basically. They have the different lore of the vampire regions. They don't get much into it in the movies. They do in the books a lot more, obviously, because they have more time and more room to describe things, to teach you things. I don't know. The lore's not bad. It's original-ish.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. I'm not saying whether we like it or not, because this is the book that made vampires sparkle.
Yes.
So, obviously, that's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. Like the skin of a killer, Bella. I think that was a pretty spot-on impression, if you ask me.
That was perfect. But...
I'm Batman.
But...
This is the skin of vengeance, Bella.
I take you. Alright, but overall, like, in terms of vampiric bullshit, I don't think they do anything problematic in terms of that lore. The only thing that I was thinking might have been problematic is some of the Native American lore.
Like some of the depictions,
Yeah. But even then, it wasn't like, this is Native American lore. It's like, no, this is this one group of people over here.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I'm going to say, overall, it was pretty agnostic and in-depth and interesting, or at least different enough to be its own thing that doesn't step on the toes of anything important.
Yeah. I agree. Vampire Diaries, what do you think about lore there? It has a bigger lore.
It has
but it is longer. It's much longer than Twilight was. Twilight was what, like 5 movies maybe?
Yeah.
So
the last one got split into 2, right?
Yeah. And then Vampire Diaries is a TV show where they have larger expanse, more time.
So here's what I'm breaking it down in my head is that they don't really do much with the vampire stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing that they do. The usual vampire lore. There's magic involved. Who cares? Werewolves also pretty, down the rails. The thing that gets me is the way they do witches. Mm-hmm.
They're from only the one bloodline, right?
No, there's couple of them. There's a couple different bloodlines, but even though and there is some variation in this. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, when in Vampire Diaries they talk about witches, they're talking about black women.
Yeah, because Bonnie is a woman of color, and every woman in her family who is a witch is also a woman of color. Mm-hmm. And pretty much every witch on Vampire Diaries is black. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's a little weird. It's a little suspicious about the writers.
Yes. I think black women being witches, dope as hell.
Yeah. Anybody can be a witch.
Of course.
It doesn't matter.
And they should be. But the thing is, when when that demographic as a whole becomes a thing for your show, it starts to get a little weird. As though, they're trying to... I think they were trying to say something about, like, the power of different cultures or whatever else. But it's sort of fantasizing, like, an actual group of people into something that's a little off.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's a religion. That's a belief system. That's all this other stuff. And they're like...
Yeah, and, like, in real life, there are problems with, magic and calling it black magic and having, bad connotations when it comes to voodoo or other religions surrounding that. Because, voodoo branches off, I believe, in different ways. But yeah, it's very weird that you're right, it's like a fantasy or like a fetishization of magic and the culture of black folk. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like they try real hard to make it seem cool, like a positive thing, and I do like that they're giving some power behind it, but like I don't think it's okay. I don't think they're doing it right.
It's weird.
Let's go with con. But let's finish off with masculinity, which is connected to sexism a little bit.
Yes, and the tiebreaker.
Oh my god, yes?
Yeah. Yeah. No? Yes. No.
So this could either cinch it for Vampire Diary or make it a tie.
Okay, yes. Okay, I see. Because so far we have 2 pros for Twilight, 3 pros for Vampire Diaries. We have 3 cons for Twilight and 2 cons for Vampire Diaries. Let's see, folks. Masculinity, will it?
So, I think masculinity in Twilight, despite it clearly having a lot of problems, isn't the worst. Because despite the fact that Jacob and Edward have this pretty fucked up thing going on between them of who's the right man for Bella, whatever the fuck is going on with them, I don't know. All the other men around them are looking at them like children because they are actually surprisingly mature and like reasonable men. Again, I'm going back to Charlie. Like, he is, despite it, being a kind of older dude who doesn't really know what the fuck is going on, he's very open about his feelings. Like, he tries to be like, hey, Bella, I'm worried about you. I care about, like, he wants to talk. He wants to share. He wants to...
If anything, Bella has the toxic masculinity.
Honestly, yeah. Like, I think the men in Twilight, aside from the core 2, are surprisingly chill. Even Emmett, Mr. Frat Boy.
Spider Monkey. Yeah, he... The few times that he interacts in the movie, he looks like he would be the big, tough jock boy. I mean, he is, but he's not, like, aggressive about it. He's just, hey, I have a baseball shirt on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, all the men are surprisingly emotionally mature.
Yeah, except for Jacob and Edward, which I feel like Stephenie Meyer was like, I don't know, this is kind of hot when guys don't talk to me about their feelings, I suppose. I don't know.
But at the same time, I think all the characters look at, like, those are the two most immature characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
and they're the ones that matter, though.
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm.
Jacob and Edward are the ones that matter because they are, like, the only characters in Twilight really are the three, and everybody else is, like, there sometimes. And it's like Jacob is the super aggressive one. Super aggressive, when it comes to being manly, and that depiction of, like, strength and I don't know, like, rough and tough male because he's a werewolf. He does tell Bella his feelings, though.
He is pretty open.
He does talk about he is pretty open with communication. He just really doesn't like Edward. So in that sense, I don't feel like... I feel like maybe he just has an issue with emotional things and not really masculinity, per se. Edward, I don't know, the skin of a killer, Bella. He doesn't really like that he sparkles, so maybe there's a little homophobia there. I don't know.
Maybe. Here's what it comes down to for me. I think that the problem that Edward and Jacob have isn't that they're toxically masculine. I think for Edward, it's religious trauma. He believes he is tainted by the demons.
Yeah.
And for Jacob, he's got low self-esteem and is very jealous and like he has his own issues, which I don't think, specifically at least, stem from toxic masculinity. Yeah. I don't think that's the problem for them. So I'm going to give it a pro, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great depictions of people, but on one hand, people aren't great depictions of people. Like, sometimes people are rough. Sometimes they need help, or, that they need that growth, that therapy, or, people in real life have insecurities, and baggage. So, like, even though Edward and Jacob, you want them to do things differently, I mean, it's kind of realistic, I suppose. I mean, maybe your super rich boyfriend will go to Italy and ghost you. I don't know.
Right.
Vampire Diaries now.
So, yeah.
Vampire Diaries, I feel like, might be a con. Because Stefan and Damon do seem very masculine.
Stefan...
Very, I can't talk about this because I'm a big tough man and the lady's gotta stay home so I can take care of the problem.
I don't think there's a single male character in the Vampire Diaries show that doesn't have a problem with aggression and control. Like, even Matt.
But he just gets mad sometimes because people are really dumb. Also, I'm just defending him because he's like him. Elena's brother isn't so bad, I don't think, until later on when he, gets weird powers. And
his neck becomes 3 people width.
Yes. Yes. I
don't know. Like, okay, we broke it down with the other one. We decided that it was a pro for Twilight because it was not the root of their problems. They had their own individual issues. I think masculinity is the root of Stefan.
Masculinity is the root of all evil.
In Vampire Diaries, a little, kind of.
Put that on a shirt and I would buy it. Nice going, buddy-o.
But I think toxic masculinity is the root of Stefan and Damon's conflict. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that they've been having this fight over who deserves this girl more, who's the right man, who's the better man, for so long, mm-hmm. that is integral to who they are.
Yes.
And a major part of the story.
Who can be the better man.
Exactly.
Also, can't talk to my brother about these emotions because that's not manly. Mm. And I've got to be, tough.
And aside from a couple times where they're a little sad here and there, every time they show emotion, it's pretty aggressive. There's a lot of thrown whiskey. There's a lot of neck biting. Yeah. There's a lot of murder. Damon murders a fuckload of people. Yeah, he's the good guy.
Yeah, but you say that maybe they deserved it a little bit.
Not a lot of them.
The people that Damon killed. Well, I'm sorry, Stefan the Ripper.
No, he's far worse.
He's killed thousands of people. Damon didn't even want to be a vampire.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. 100%.
Stefan is such a trash person. Carolyn she could have done so much better.
So.
Yes.
Toxic masculinity, serious con.
Yeah. So I think it's a tie there, folks.
It is a tie. Tallying everything up, both come out to a whopping 0, that's how I was tallying this. Pros are +1, cons are -1. Add them up, whoever has the lowest score loses. And they both came out to 0. Equally problematic.
Yeah. 3 pros and 3 cons each.
So here's the thing. I did not expect this. I 100% thought when we first started talking about it that Twilight was going to win because Vampire Diaries seemed like it was going to sweep the negatives right under. But
it does have some
right. Okay, but that I think we've broken down enough. Definitively, they're both equally bad. Is what we've come down to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree. Let us know what you think below about which one is more problematic than the other. But yeah.
That's all for now, folks.
Yeah. See you guys next time. Hope you enjoy one of the other videos that we have on the channel. Bye-bye.